Hey team, this is George. I hope you found our last week's class divided, 360 class divided with Elliot to be a very powerful look into ourselves as humanity, if you will. It's kind of, I found these past 3 weeks, especially with it started out, let's just start from the beginning. I'm going to give you a little bit of my narrative. The bystander effect kind of showed us how the more people there are, the less likely we are to get help. Um, and then we jumped into the boat lift under an extraordinary situation when people just came to the rescue and just an extraordinary shape, form, and function. And then week 3 talked about the Stanford prison experiment, which showed how people naturally take into different roles automatically. No matter, some of the guards would, really took on their role and abused, if you will, the prisoners, and the prisoners just kind of cowered down and took on their role as well. And then Flight 93, and when the airplane went down in the Pennsylvania field, uh, how they were able to rise up and stop what was going on, and the different perspectives from, like, the perspective that always gets me is one of the mom telling her son to take it back, to just be tough and go and take the airplane back, because that was a last ditch effort. So that was always very touching to me. And then a class divided on how people can be made to rise to the occasion or lower their expectations to where they think they can't. And that kind of correlates with Dr. Hattie's findings that self-efficacy and a teacher's efficacy, or how a teacher thinks that you will do, um, has a huge impact on your actual outcomes. So it's been kind of amazing to see this, because we've taken some things that are big psychological issues, deals in their time, and we've taken them and we've looked from a teaming perspective, because we're still made up the same way, even though this was done in the 60s, maybe early 70s. I forget exactly when, but I believe it was 60s. Um, it pertains today with teaming, because we haven't changed inherently, innately as a person. So knowing all this kind of can help us as we learn to lead teams, because am I setting the bar low for this person because for some reason I think they're not capable of it? Is it my own internalized prejudice that's causing this person to not achieve what they're capable of? So it kind of shines that mirror right back at us as well, so we can move forward and help people to achieve greater heights than they thought was initially possible, because the way we think as a team leader absolutely affects the individual outcomes and the team outcomes. And that leads us to week 6, which is the Abilene paradox. A group of folks took a drive to Abilene, and in a nutshell, it was a horrible drive. It was hot. It was a long time ago, just like the rest of our studies. And then the drive was horrible. It was a dust storm. And when they got to Abilene, nobody really wanted to be there. Nobody wanted to go, but everybody thought somebody else did. So guess what? They didn't want to rock the boat. So what I take from this, and what I've kind of been good at throughout my times working in a team, is to rock the boat. Sometimes I'll even, as a team leader, most of the time, I'll even put something out there that purposely rocks the boat and makes people think outside of the context of what we're doing, just to make sure that we're not falling into this Abilene paradox where nobody really wants to rock the boat. Now, one of the things as a team leader that you can do, if you've been with a team for a long time and the team is, excuse me, is mature, just setting up that environment where it's okay to rock the boat is the best way to stay away from the Abilene paradox. And talking to people and asking, uh, is another way to absolutely stay away from that Abilene paradox. But if it's a new team, you have to purposefully begin setting up that environment where it's okay to fight the norm, and you have to be vulnerable enough as a leader. Lencioni has a great book out where he talks about the leader being that first person to be vulnerable is what creates that trust and that cohesion. Because as we've been talking through all these weeks, trust is that bedrock that builds everything for our teams. So to get rid of the Abilene paradox or group think, as a leader, you be that first one to be vulnerable and ask those questions. Hey, are we going down the right road? What ask questions that make people pause and think about whatever the topic is or the project is that the group is working through. That is so important, because if we don't, then we're going to end up with a solution that really might work, might not work, but it's going to be, it's never going to be a great solution. And one thing that I've even had to do to kind of shake things up a little bit is I would grab grab Ken Husky, my friend Ken Husky, uh, and bring him into the group if he wasn't in the group, because he's very loud and outspoken, and he would shake up and he would confront me as a leader, and people would see that it was okay to confront my thoughts on the topic as well, because what I wanted from our team is the absolute best solution. So there's plenty of things you can do to get rid of that Abilene paradox that happens in all teams, and let's have some fun in our group discussions as well this week. So have a great week.